1950. She opened the door, and there he was, after 15 years. But his eyes didn't recognize her. Let me tell you how we got here, how love survived what should have destroyed it. June 3rd, 1950, a Saturday morning, the kind of morning where the air smells like jasmine and possibility. Sarah Mitchell was 17 years old, wearing a yellow sundress her mother had sewn by hand, standing on the corner of Maple Street in a small town in North Carolina. She was waiting for the bus. She had no idea that in exactly 4 minutes, her entire life would change forever. Have you ever had a moment like that? A moment where everything before becomes the past and everything after becomes your life. Where you can draw a line and say, this is when it all began. The bus pulled up, the door opened, and he stepped off. James Cooper, 20 years old, dark hair that fell slightly over his forehead, eyes the color of storm clouds. He was wearing his father's old work jacket, carrying a single duffel bag, and he looked lost. Completely, utterly lost. Sarah watched him standing there, looking up and down the street like he was searching for something. And then their eyes met, just for a second, maybe two. But in that second, something happened. You know that feeling? When you look at someone and your stomach drops and you think, oh no, this is gonna hurt. She looked away first, grabbed her purse tighter, told herself to stop being ridiculous. But when she glanced back, he was still looking at her. "Excuse me," he said, walking toward her. His voice was deep, a little rough around the edges. "I'm looking for the Mitchell farm. Do you know where?" "That's my family," she interrupted, her heart suddenly racing. That's my father's farm." His face broke into the most beautiful smile she had ever seen. "You're Sarah," she nodded, unable to speak. "I'm James Cooper. Your father hired me for the summer to help with the harvest." And just like that, her summer stopped being ordinary. What she didn't know was that James had been traveling for 3 days to get there. What she didn't know was that he had nowhere else to go. His mother had died the year before. His father had drunk himself to death 6 months later. At 20 years old, James Cooper was completely alone in the world. But when he saw Sarah standing there in that yellow dress with the morning sun catching the gold in her brown hair, he thought, maybe I'm not alone anymore. The bus drove away. They stood there on that corner, and Sarah said, "Well, I guess you're coming home with me."
Everything changed.
Home. He would think about that word for the next 15 years. They walked the 2 miles to the farm together that morning. And I want you to imagine this, really imagine it. It's 1950. No cell phones, no texting, no Instagram. Just 2 people walking down a dirt road, talking, actually talking. She told him about the farm, about her 3 younger brothers, about how her mother had died giving birth to the youngest one, Tommy, who was now 5 years old, about how her father was a good man but quiet, so quiet since Mama died, about how she took care of the house now, the cooking, the cleaning, the boys. "I'm 17, she said, "but sometimes I feel 40. He told her about losing his parents, about being alone, about how he'd heard about farm work in North Carolina and just got on a bus, kept riding until he ran out of money. "This was as far as I could get," he said, trying to smile. "Guess it was meant to be." She looked at him then, really looked at him, and she saw something in his eyes, a loneliness that matched her own, a kind of recognition. Have you ever met someone and felt like you'd known them before, in another life, in a dream? By the time they reached the farm, they had fallen into an easy rhythm, like they'd been walking together for years instead of an hour. Her father, Robert Mitchell, was a man of few words.
Don't worry, dear.
He shook James's hand, showed him the barn where he'd be sleeping, told him work started at sunrise. "Yes, sir," James said. That night, Sarah couldn't sleep. She lay in her narrow bed, staring at the ceiling, thinking about the stranger sleeping in their barn, thinking about his smile, his sad eyes, the way he'd looked at her. "Stop it," she whispered to herself. "He's just here for the summer, that's all." But deep down, she knew. She already knew. The next morning, Sunday, the whole family went to church. James came too, wearing the only clean shirt he had. He sat in the back row, but Sarah couldn't stop herself from turning around. Every time she did, he was looking at her. After the service, Mrs. Henderson, the pastor's wife, grabbed Sarah's arm. "Who is that handsome young man? And why is he looking at you like you're the only person in the room?" Sarah felt her cheeks burn. "He's nobody. Just a farmhand."
Are you
But he
all right?
wasn't nobody. Not anymore.
I should have
That
told
first
you
week,
sooner.
James worked harder than any man her father had ever hired. Up before dawn, working until sunset, never complaining. Her father, a man who rarely praised anyone, told Sarah, "That boy's got character. Good, strong character." Every evening, Sarah would bring dinner out to the fields for the men. Fried chicken, biscuits, sweet tea. And every evening, James would thank her, and their fingers would touch for just a second when she handed him his plate, and electricity would run up her arm. You know that feeling? When someone barely touches you and your whole body wakes up? On Friday night, after dinner, her father went to town.
Can't.
The boys were asleep, Sarah was washing dishes in the kitchen, and James appeared at the back door.
"Need any help?" he asked.
Here.
She should have said no. She should have sent him back to the barn. But instead, she said, "Sure." He picked up a dish towel, stood next to her at the sink, and they washed dishes in silence for a while. Just the sound of water and plates and the crickets outside. "Can I ask you something?" James said finally.
You can.
"Okay. Why aren't you married? Pretty girl like you, I'd think you'd have a husband by now." She kept her eyes on the soapy water. "Mama died when I was 14. Somebody had to take care of the boys, take care of Daddy. There wasn't time for all that." "All that," he repeated softly. "You mean living your own life?" She looked at him then, and tears suddenly filled her eyes. Because nobody had ever said it out loud before. Nobody had ever seen it. "Hey," he said gently. "Hey, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to." "No, it's okay. It's just nobody ever asks. Nobody ever sees." He set down the dish towel, turned to face her completely. "I see you, Sarah. I see you." And right there, in that tiny kitchen, with her hands covered in soap suds and his shirt stained with dirt from the fields, something shifted, something locked into place. She took a step toward him. He took a step toward her. And then they were standing so close, she could feel the heat coming off his body, could smell the earth and sweat and something uniquely him. "James," she whispered. I know. Me too." He reached up slowly, giving her time to pull away, and brushed a strand of hair from her face. His fingers lingered on her cheek. She closed her eyes, leaned into his touch. "We shouldn't," she breathed. "I know. You're only here for the summer." "I know." But neither of them moved away. That night, they didn't kiss, not yet. But they stood in that kitchen until they heard her father's truck coming up the drive, and then James slipped out the back door, and Sarah stood there with her heart pounding, thinking, "This is going to hurt. This is going to hurt so much." She had no idea how right she was. The next 6 weeks were the happiest of
you
Sarah's
so
entire
much.
life.
Me too.
Every morning she'd wake up knowing she'd see him. Every evening they'd find ways to be alone for just a few minutes in the garden, behind the barn, walking to check on the cattle. They talked about everything. He told her about wanting to be a teacher someday, about loving books and poetry and ideas. She told him about wanting to travel, to see the ocean, to live somewhere where nobody knew her as poor Sarah who has to take care of everyone. "We could go together," he said one night. They were sitting on the porch steps, the boys asleep inside, her father snoring in his chair. "After the harvest, we could just go." "Where would we go?" she asked, smiling because it felt like a dream, like pretending. "Anywhere, everywhere. I'd take you to the ocean first. You'd love it, Sarah. The sound of the waves, the salt in the air, the way it goes on forever." "Have you been to the ocean?" "Once, when I was a kid, before everything fell apart." He didn't need to finish. She took his hand, laced her fingers through his. "Tell me it's possible. Tell me we could really do it." He turned to look at her, and in the moonlight, his eyes were so full of hope and fear and love that she could barely breathe. "Sarah Mitchell," he said slowly, "I love you. I have loved you since the moment I saw you standing on that corner in your yellow dress, and I will love you until the day I die. So yes, it's possible. Anything is possible if we're together." She started crying, happy tears, scared tears. "I love you too. God help me, I love you too." And then finally,
Please,
he kissed her.
talk about this.
Have you ever had a first kiss that you knew you'd remember for the rest of your life? A kiss that tasted like forever? That's what it was. But here's what they didn't know. Here's what they couldn't have known. In 3 weeks, everything would end. In 3 weeks, James would get a letter that would destroy them both. In 3 weeks, Sarah would watch him leave, and she wouldn't see his face again for 15 years. But right now, in this moment, with his lips on hers and his hands in her hair and the North Carolina stars above them, they were happy. They were so happy. What happened next? You need to hear this, because this is where the real story begins. This is where love became something else, something bigger, something that would survive the impossible. But first, have you ever loved someone like this, with your whole heart? If yes, leave a heart in the comments. And if you believe in true love, subscribe to this channel, because this story is just beginning. And I promise you, you won't believe where it goes. After that first kiss, everything changed. And nothing changed. They still had to pretend, in front of her father, in front of the whole town. Sarah was the respectable Mitchell girl who took care of her family. James was just the summer farmhand. That's all anyone could see. But at night, they belonged to each other. Have you ever had a secret love? The kind that makes your heart race every time you're in the same room, where every stolen glance feels like a kiss, where you count the hours until you can be alone again. That was their summer. July came. The heat was unbearable. The kind of southern heat that makes the air thick and heavy, where even breathing feels like work. Sarah would watch James working in the fields, his shirt soaked with sweat, his muscles moving under sun-darkened skin, and she'd have to look away before anyone noticed the way her cheeks flushed. Every evening, after her father went to bed, James would tap softly on the kitchen window. 3 taps, always 3. That was their signal. She'd slip out the back door, and they'd walk to the old oak tree by the creek. Their tree, their place, where nobody could see them, where they could finally breathe. "I counted today," James said one night, pulling her down to sit beside him in the grass. 52 days until the harvest ends. Sarah's stomach dropped. 52 days, less than 2 months. And then what? He'd leave?
No.
Go back to where?
No.
He had nothing, nowhere to go. But he couldn't stay here forever as a farmhand. They both knew that. She whispered, Don't think about it.
Oh my God.
Sarah, we have to talk about Not yet, please,
No, this
not
cannot
yet.
be real. You're lying to
He
me.
pulled her close. She laid her head on his chest, listening to his heartbeat. Strong,
Will you
steady,
leave me now?
real. Marry me, he said quietly. She froze, pulled back to look at him. What? Marry me. I know I have nothing. I know I can't give you the life you
so
deserve,
sorry.
but I love you,
No,
Sarah.
I won't let it
I
happen.
love
Do
you so
hear me?
much it hurts. And I can't,
I refuse to
I can't
surrender.
imagine my life without you in it. Tears filled her eyes. James, we could make it work. I'll find a job, a real job, in town maybe, or we could go somewhere else, start fresh. I don't care where, as long as you're with me.
She wanted to say yes. God, she wanted to say yes so
Our time
badly.
together is precious.
But reality crashed down on her like a
It is
wave.
slipping away too
What about my
fast.
brothers? What about Daddy? He can't take care of them alone. Tommy's only 5, and Billy's 8, and they're not your responsibility, Sarah. Yes, they are. She stood up, wrapping her arms around herself. They are my responsibility. When Mama died, I promised her. I promised I'd take care of them. James stood too, reached for her hands. And you have.
Yes, my
For 3
love.
years, you've given up everything for them. But what about you? What about your life? This
It's a nice
is
day
my
for a
life.
Trip to the moon, isn't it?
Is it? Or is it just what you think you have to do? She pulled her hands away. You don't understand. Then help me understand. She looked at him, this man she loved more than breathing. And she wanted to explain, wanted to make him see. But how could she?
When?
How could she explain the
When?
guilt, the weight of a deathbed promise, the way her father looked at her sometimes, like she was all he had left of her mother? I can't leave them. I can't.
Bye.
The silence between them was deafening.
We
Okay.
will miss you.
James said quietly. Okay, then I'll stay here. I'll find work in town. We'll get married, live nearby. You can still take care of your family, and we can build our own life too.
I don't want to go.
Hope bloomed in her chest. You'd do that?
I know, but you must.
You'd
I'll be back
stay?
for you, I promise.
He cupped her face in his hands. Sarah, I'd do anything for you. Anything. She kissed him then, deep and desperate and full of relief. Because maybe, just maybe, they could have this. Maybe
I'll never
love
stop
was enough.
loving you.
But what they didn't know, what they couldn't have known, was that the world was about to make that choice for them. The next 2 weeks were heaven. They made plans,
I have to
whispered
go.
plans in the dark. James would talk to her father after the harvest, ask for her hand properly. They'd have a small wedding, nothing fancy, just family and friends at the little church in town. Sarah started embroidering pillowcases for their future home, little blue flowers in the corners. She'd work on them late at night by candlelight, imagining the bed they'd share, the life they'd build, the children they'd have someday. Can you imagine that? Planning your whole future with someone? Seeing it so clearly you could almost touch it? On July 15th, James took her to town. It was Saturday, and her father had given them permission to go to the general store for supplies. But really, James had another plan. He led her to the small jewelry shop on Main Street. The owner, Mr. Patterson, was a kind old man who'd known Sarah's mother. I want to buy a ring, James told him, for Sarah. Mr. Patterson's eyes crinkled with joy. Well, it's about time someone swept our Sarah off her feet. James had been saving every penny he earned. It wasn't much, but it was enough for a small gold band with a tiny diamond. So small, you could barely see it. But to Sarah, it was the most beautiful thing she'd ever seen. I can't give it to you yet, James said, as they walked back to the farm, the ring hidden in his pocket. Not until I talk to your father. But I wanted you to know, this is real. We're real. And in a few weeks, you're going to be Sarah Cooper. Sarah Cooper. She repeated it silently in her head. Sarah Cooper. Sarah Cooper. It sounded like a prayer, like a promise. That night, Lying in bed, she couldn't stop smiling, couldn't stop imagining their wedding day. Her in her mother's dress, altered to fit, James in a borrowed suit, her brothers as witnesses, her father giving her away. It was so close she could taste it. But the next morning, everything shattered. July 16th, 1950. A Sunday. They'd all gone to church like always. When they got home, there was a telegram waiting at the house. Sarah saw it first, saw the envelope on the porch, saw James's name typed on the front. Her blood went cold.
I'm waiting.
"What is it?" James asked, picking it up. His hand shook as he opened it, and Sarah watched his face change, watched the color drain from his cheeks, watched his eyes go dark with something that looked like terror. No, 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 no. "James, what is it?" He looked at her, and she saw her future crumbling in his eyes. "I've been drafted. The Korean War. I have to report in 2 weeks." The world stopped spinning. Drafted. War.
Please, you must
2
understand.
weeks.
No, Sarah heard herself say. No, they can't. You're needed here for the harvest.
Tired
We
of
can
this.
get an exemption. We can... Sarah, he grabbed her shoulders. There's no exemption. I have to go. Then I wait. I wait for you. However long it takes, I'll... What if I don't come back? The question hung in the air like smoke. Don't say that, she whispered. Don't you dare say that. Sarah, men are dying over there every day. What if I'm one of them? What if I go and I never... She kissed him hard, desperate, trying to stop the words, trying to stop reality. When she pulled back, tears were streaming down both their faces. You're coming back, she said fiercely. You hear me? You're coming back to me. And we're getting married, and we're having babies, and we're growing old together. That's what's happening, because I won't accept anything else. He held her so tight she could barely breathe. I love you, he choked out. God, I love you so much. Then come back to me. Promise me you'll come back. I promise. I swear to God, Sarah, I promise. But promises don't stop bullets. Promises don't stop bombs. Promises don't stop war. The next 2 weeks passed in a blur of terror and stolen moments. They spent every second they could together. James still worked during the day, but at night they'd stay up until dawn, just talking, memorizing each other, trying to fit a lifetime into days. Sarah took a photograph of him, just one. The only camera in town belonged to Mrs. Henderson, and Sarah borrowed it, hands shaking as she snapped the picture. James standing by the oak tree, smiling that sad, beautiful smile. So you don't forget my face, he joked. I could never forget your face, she whispered. He gave her the ring, not in front of her father, not officially, but privately, in secret. Keep this, he said, pressing it into her palm. And when I come back, I'm putting it on your finger properly, in front of God and everyone. She closed her fist around it. When you come back, she repeated. When, not if, when. July 30th, 1950. The day he left. Her father drove them to the train station. Her brothers came too, confused about why Sarah was crying, why James looked so serious. The platform was crowded with other young men, other families saying goodbye, other girls crying, other mothers praying. The train whistle blew. That's me, James said. Sarah couldn't breathe, couldn't think, couldn't believe this was happening. Write to me, she begged, every day. Promise you'll write. I promise. And you write back. Tell me everything. Tell me about the farm, about your brothers, about what you had for breakfast. I don't care, just let me hear your voice, even if it's on paper. The whistle blew again. I have to go. I know, but neither of them moved. Sarah, his voice broke. I love you. I will always love you, no matter what happens, no matter how long. You're it for me. You understand?
You're it. You're it for me too, she sobbed. One last kiss, one last embrace, and then he was pulling away, picking up his bag, walking toward the train. She watched him climb the steps, watched him find a window, watched him press his hand against the glass. She pressed her hand to the same spot from outside, like they could touch, like distance didn't matter. The train started moving, and Sarah ran alongside it, ran until she couldn't keep up anymore, ran until the train was just a dot in the distance, ran until her lungs burned and her legs gave out and she collapsed on the platform. Her father found her there, picked her up, held her while she screamed. That night, alone in her room, she put the ring on a chain, wore it around her neck, hidden under her dress, close to her heart, and she whispered into the darkness, "Come back to me. Please, God, please bring him back to me." But she didn't know. She couldn't have known. She wouldn't see him again for 15 years. And when she finally did, he wouldn't remember her name.
October 1950. He was in Korea. The letters came less frequently now. Sometimes 2 weeks between them, sometimes 3. Each time the mailman passed without stopping, Sarah felt like she was dying. Her father noticed. "You need to move on," he said gently one night at dinner. "That boy might not come back."
I can't do
"Don't
this.
say
I
that,"
just can't.
Sarah snapped. "Don't you dare say that. I'm just trying to prepare you, honey." "I don't need preparing. I need people to have faith." But even she was starting to lose faith because the letters were changing, getting shorter, more distant. November 1950, a letter that made her stomach drop. "Sarah, I can't tell you where I am. I can't tell you what I've seen.
Oh no.
But I need you to know, war changes people. I'm not the same man who left you on that platform. I don't know if I'll ever be that man again. I've seen things, done things I can't unsay or undo. Sometimes I wonder if it's fair to ask you to wait, to tie yourself to someone who might come back broken. But then, I think about your face, and I'm selfish enough to hold on. I love you. That hasn't changed. That will never change. James." She cried for 3 hours after reading that letter. Then she wrote back immediately. "James, I don't care what you've seen. I don't care what you've done. I don't care if you come back different. You're still you. The man I love. The man I'm going to marry. You're not broken. You hear me? You're not broken. You're surviving. You're doing what you have to do to come home to me. So don't you dare give up. Don't you dare let go. I'm here. I'm waiting.
Told you sooner.
And I'm not going anywhere. Forever yours, Sarah." December 1950. Christmas came. The whole town was decorated. Families celebrated. But Sarah felt empty. She tried to smile for her brothers, tried to cook a nice meal, but all she could think about was James. Where was he? Was he cold? Was he hungry? Was he scared? She went to the oak tree on Christmas Eve, stood there in the freezing cold, looking up at the stars. "Please keep him safe," she prayed. "Please bring him back to me."
The next letter didn't come until January 15th, 1951. It was different. The handwriting was shaky, rushed, desperate. "Sarah, there was an ambush. I was hit. Not bad. I'm okay. But I'm in a field hospital now, and all I can think about is what if I hadn't been okay? What if I died without seeing your face one more time? I need you to promise me something. If something happens to me, if I don't make it back, I need you to live, really live. Don't spend your life waiting for a ghost. Find someone else. Be happy. Have babies. Grow old with someone who can actually be there for you. Promise me, Sarah. Please, promise me. James. She crumpled the letter in her fist, threw it across the room, then picked it up and smoothed it out and read it again. No, she said out loud. No, I won't promise that. I won't. She wrote back immediately. James, don't you dare ask me to give up on you. Don't you dare ask me to imagine a life without you in it, because there is no life without you. Don't you understand that? You are coming back. You will see my face again. We will get married. That's the only future I'm accepting. So stop talking like you're already gone. You're not. You're alive. You're breathing. You're mine. And I'm yours. Forever. Sarah. But after that letter, something shifted. February 1951, no letter. March 1951, no letter. April 1951, no letter. 3 months of silence. 3 months of checking the mail every single day. 3 months of hope dying a little more each morning. Maybe he's just Billy, she told herself. Maybe the mail isn't getting through. Maybe... But deep down, a terrible fear was growing. What if something happened to him? What if he was hurt? What if he was...
The next 6 weeks were the happiest of Sarah's entire life. Every morning she'd wake up knowing she'd see him. Every evening they'd find ways to be alone for just a few minutes, in the garden, behind the barn, walking to check on the cattle. They talked about everything. He told her about wanting to be a teacher someday, about loving books and poetry and ideas. She told him about wanting to travel, to see the ocean, to live somewhere where nobody knew her as poor Sarah, who has to take care of everyone. We could go together, he said one night. They were sitting on the porch steps, the boys asleep inside, her father snoring in his chair. After the harvest, we could just go. Where would we go? She asked, smiling because it felt like a dream, like pretending. Anywhere, everywhere. I'd take you to the ocean first. You'd love it, Sarah. The sound of the waves, the salt in the air, the way it goes on forever. Have you been to the ocean? Once, when I was a kid, before everything fell apart. He didn't need to finish. She took his hand, laced her fingers through his. Tell me it's possible. Tell me we could really do it. He turned to look at her, and in the moonlight, his eyes were so full of hope and fear and love that she could barely breathe. Sarah Mitchell, he said slowly, I love you. I have loved you since the moment I saw you standing on that corner in your yellow dress, and I will love you until the day I die. So yes, it's possible. Anything is possible if we're together. She started crying, happy tears, scared tears. I love you too. God help me, I love you too. And then finally, he kissed her. Have you ever had a first kiss that you knew you'd remember for the rest of your life? A kiss that tasted like forever? That's what it was. But here's what they didn't know. Here's what they couldn't have known. In 3 weeks, everything would end. In 3 weeks, James would get a letter that would destroy them both. In 3 weeks, Sarah would watch him leave, and she wouldn't see his face again for 15 years. But right now, in this moment, with his lips on hers and his hands in her hair and the North Carolina stars above them, they were happy. They were so happy.
Why are you really
What
doing
happened
this?
next? You need to hear this, because this is where the real story begins. This is where love became
Please,
something
wait.
else, something bigger, something that would survive the impossible.
She pulled away from him, looked at the officer with fire in her eyes. When you find him, not if, when, you tell him Sarah is waiting. You tell him I'm still here. You tell... Her voice broke. Tears finally came. You tell him I love him. The officer nodded slowly. Yes, ma'am. If we find him, we'll tell him. They left. The car drove away, and Sarah stood there in the yard, laundry still flapping in the wind, her whole world crumbling. Her father tried to hug her. She pushed him away, walked to the oak tree, their tree, sat down in the exact spot where James had proposed, where he'd given her the ring. She pulled the chain from under her dress, looked at the tiny diamond catching the sunlight. You're alive, she whispered. I know you're alive, and I'm going to wait. I don't care how long. I don't care if everyone thinks I'm crazy. I'm going to wait. That night, she wrote a letter anyway, even though she had no address to send it to, even though she didn't know if he'd ever read
Come on
it.
in, sweethearts.
My love, they say you're missing. They say I should give up hope, but I can't. I won't. Wherever you are, whatever's happened, I need you to know I'm here. I'm waiting. I will wait until my last breath if I have to. Come back to me, James. Find your way back, because I'm not going anywhere. I love you. I love you. I love you. Always, Sarah. She folded it, put it in an envelope, wrote his name on the front, and put it in a box under her bed. It was the first of many. Because this is what they don't tell you about loving someone who's missing. They don't tell you about the limbo, the not knowing, the hoping and despairing in the same breath. Dead would be easier. Dead would be final. Dead would let you grieve and eventually move on. But missing is torture. Because maybe he's alive. Maybe he's trying to get home. Maybe he's thinking about you right now. Maybe he needs you to keep believing. Or maybe he's already gone. Maybe you're waiting for a ghost. Maybe you're wasting your life on a memory.
No, this cannot be real.
Sarah didn't know which was true. All she knew was that she couldn't stop waiting. She pulled away from him, looked at the officer with fire in her eyes. When you find him, not if, when, you tell him Sarah is waiting. You tell him I'm still here. You tell... Her voice broke. Tears finally came. You tell him I love him. The officer nodded slowly. Yes, ma'am. If we find him, we'll tell him. They left. The car drove away, and Sarah stood there in the yard, laundry still flapping in the wind, her whole world crumbling. Her father tried to hug her. She pushed him away, walked to the oak tree, their tree, sat down in the exact spot where James had proposed, where he'd given her the ring. She pulled the chain from under her dress, looked at the tiny diamond catching the sunlight. You're alive, she whispered. I know you're alive, and I'm going to wait. I don't care how long. I don't care if everyone thinks I'm crazy. I'm going to wait. That night, she wrote a letter anyway, even though she had no address to send it to, even though she didn't know if he'd ever read it. My love,
Yes, my
they say you're missing. They say I should give up hope, but I can't. I won't. Wherever you are, whatever's happened, I need you to know I'm here. I'm waiting. I will wait until my last breath if I have to. Come back to me, James. Find your way back, because I'm not going anywhere. I love you.
When?
I love you.
When?
I love you. Always, Sarah.
When?
She folded it, put it in an envelope, wrote his name on the front, and put it in a box under her bed. It was the first of many. Because this is what they don't tell you about loving someone who's missing. They don't tell you about the limbo, the not knowing, the hoping and despairing in the same breath.
Miss you.
Dead would be easier. Dead would be final. Dead would let you grieve and eventually move on. But missing is torture. Because maybe he's alive. Maybe he's trying to get home. Maybe he's thinking about you right now. Maybe he needs you to keep believing. Or maybe he's already gone. Maybe you're waiting for a ghost. Maybe you're wasting your life on a memory. Sarah didn't know which was true.
All she knew was that she couldn't stop waiting. Not yet. Not ever.
Never stop loving
1 year passed, then 2, then 3, and still, she waited. But what she didn't know, what she couldn't have known, was that the man she was waiting for was alive. He was out there, but he had no memory of her, no memory of the farm, no memory of the yellow dress or the oak tree or the promises made under the stars. The war had taken more than just time. It had taken everything. Would you wait? Would you wait for someone who might never come back? Someone who might not even remember you? Comment yes or no. Be honest. And if this story is breaking your heart, it's about to get worse. Subscribe now, because what happens in the next 10 years will test everything you believe about love. 1952. 1 year
Please help
missing.
me. I don't know what else to do.
Sarah turned 20 years old on March 3rd. Her father made a cake, her brothers sang happy birthday, and she sat there, smiling, pretending she wasn't dying inside. Because James should have been there. They should have been married by now. She should have been Sarah Cooper, not Sarah Mitchell. They should have had a baby, maybe. A little boy with James's eyes.
Oh.
Instead, she was sitting at a table with a cake she didn't want, celebrating a life she wasn't living. "Make a wish, Sarah," little Tommy said, his eyes bright. She closed her eyes and wished the same thing she wished every single day. Bring him home. Please, God, bring him home. But God wasn't listening. Or maybe he was listening, and the answer was no. The town started treating her differently, with pity, with those sad smiles that said, "Poor Sarah, still waiting for a dead man." Mrs. Henderson from church approached her one Sunday, took her hands.
Wait.
"Honey, you're still so young. You have your whole life ahead of you. There's a nice young man, Robert Shaw. He's asked about you. Maybe you should—" "No," Sarah said firmly. "Thank you, Mrs. Henderson, but no. It's been a year, dear. I'm aware. At some point, you need to accept that he's not coming back." Sarah pulled her hands away. "He's not dead.
I'm waiting.
Missing for a year usually means—"
It means missing, not dead, missing. She stopped going to church after that, couldn't stand the looks, the whispers, the well-meaning advice that felt like knives. 1953, 2 years missing. The Army sent another letter, an official one, cold, impersonal. After extensive search efforts, we regret to inform you that Private James Cooper remains missing in action. At this time, we are suspending active search operations. We will contact you if new information becomes available.
Please, you must
Suspending
understand.
search operations? They'd given up. Sarah read the letter 3 times. Then she did something she hadn't done in 2 years. She screamed. Actually screamed. Tore the letter into pieces, threw things, broke her mother's favorite vase. Her father found her on the floor, surrounded by broken glass and torn paper, sobbing so hard she couldn't breathe. "Let it out," he said, holding her. "Just let it out, baby girl." "They gave up on him," she choked. "They just gave up." "I know. But I can't. I can't give up. What if he's out there? What if he's waiting for someone to find him?" Her father's silence said everything. Even he thought James was dead. That night, Sarah made a decision. If the Army wouldn't search for him, she would. She started writing letters, dozens of them, to the Department of Defense, to congressmen, to anyone who might listen. She filled notebooks with information about James, his unit, the date he went missing, the location of the ambush. Most letters went unanswered. Some sent back form responses. We appreciate your concern, but she didn't care. She kept writing. 1954. 3 years missing. Her father got sick. Pneumonia. Bad enough that Sarah spent 3 weeks at his bedside, terrified she'd lose him too. "You need to think about the boys," he whispered one night, his breathing labored. "If something happens to me, you need to think about their future, your future. You're gonna be fine, Daddy."
Sarah, listen to me. He gripped her hand weakly. "I know you love that boy. I know you're waiting. But life doesn't stop. Time doesn't stop. And you're 22 years old. You should be married, have children of your own." "I can't. Can't or won't. Both." He sighed, closed his eyes. "I just want you to be happy, honey." "I know. But I can't be happy without him." Her father recovered, but something shifted after that. Sarah realized she wasn't just waiting for James anymore. She was frozen, stuck, not living, just existing. Her brothers were growing up. Tommy was 9 now. Billy was 13. They needed her less and less. Her father was talking about hiring help for the farm, about her getting a job in town maybe, meeting people, moving on. But how do you move on when your heart is somewhere in Korea with a man who might be dead? 1955, 4 years missing. Sarah got a job at the local library. It was quiet, peaceful. She could lose herself in books, in other people's stories, other people's happy endings. One day, a man came in, David Walsh, 30 years old, kind eyes, a teacher at the elementary school. He started coming in every week, always chatted with Sarah, always made her smile despite herself. "You have a beautiful smile," he said one day. "You should use it more often." She touched the chain around her neck.
Me too.
The ring's still there, still hidden. "Thank you."
I just loved her so
Sarah,
much.
I was wondering,
And her
would you maybe want to
passing,
have dinner
that was so
sometime?
hard for
Just
me.
as friends, no pressure. She should have said no immediately, but she was so tired,
I know.
so lonely,
It's a lot to
so
take in,
desperate
isn't
for human connection that didn't involve pity. "Okay," she heard herself say. As friends. They had dinner. He was charming,
I didn't know what
funny,
I was doing, and then
smart,
everything changed.
everything a woman should want. And Sarah sat across from him, smiling and laughing, and feeling absolutely nothing. Because he wasn't
And
James.
He saw something in his eyes.
He walked her home.
A loneliness
stopped at
that
her
matched
gate.
her own.
"I had a really
A kind
nice
of
time
recognition.
tonight." "Me too." She lied. "Can I see you again?"
She opened her mouth to say no, to explain, but then she looked at him, really looked at him, and she thought about her father's words, about life not stopping, about being 23 years old and wasting away. "David, I need to tell you something." "Okay." She pulled the chain from under her dress, showed him the ring. "I'm waiting for someone. He's been missing in Korea for 4 years. Everyone thinks he's dead. Everyone thinks I'm crazy for still waiting. But I can't.
I can't.
I can't
do
move
this.
on.
I just can't.
I've tried. God knows I've tried. But I can't." David looked at the ring, then at her face, and instead of walking away, he said, "Then I'll wait with you." "What?" "I'll wait with you until you know for sure, one way or another. I'll be your friend,
Just imagine
and when you're
what that
ready,
will lead to.
if you're ever ready, I'll still be here." Tears filled her eyes. "That's not fair to you." "Maybe not, but I'd rather have you in my life as a friend than not at all."
Don't worry, dear.
And so began the strangest friendship of Sarah's life. David became her confidant, her support, the one person who didn't judge her for waiting, who listened when she talked about James, who held her when she cried. But he also made her laugh again, made her remember what it felt like to be alive, and that terrified her. 1956. 5 years missing. Sarah was helping David grade papers at the school one afternoon when it happened. They were sitting close, their hands touched, reaching for the same pencil, and suddenly he was looking at her. Really looking at her. "Sarah," he whispered. "Don't," she said, pulling back. "I love you. You have to know that by now." "David, please. I know you're not ready. I know you're still waiting. But I need you to know I love you. And if he never comes back, I'm here. I will always be here." She stood up abruptly. "I should go. Sarah, I'm sorry.
Are you all right?
I can't do this."
She left, walked the 3 miles
Should have
home in
told
the
you
dark,
sooner.
and when she got there, she went straight to her room, pulled out the box from under her bed. 57 letters, all addressed to James, all unsent. 5 years of love and longing and hope written on paper that would never be read. She opened the first one, the one from the day he was declared missing. Then the second, the third. Read all 57 in one sitting, relived every emotion, every desperate plea, every promise. And then she wrote number 58. "My love, it's been 5 years, 1,825 days. I've counted every single one. Everyone tells me to move on. There's a man who loves me, a good man. He'd take care of me, give me the life I should have had. But I can't because you're still in here." She pressed her hand to her heart. "You're still in here, and I don't know how to let you go. I don't know if I even want to. So I'm still waiting, still hoping, still believing that somehow, someday, you'll find your way back to me. But I'm tired, James. I'm so tired. If you're out there, if you can hear me somehow, please, give me a sign. Tell me I'm not crazy for waiting. Tell me there's still hope. Please. Your Sarah." She folded it, put it in the box with the others, and cried herself to sleep. 1957. 6 years missing. Sarah's 25th birthday. A quarter of a century old, and she'd spent almost a quarter of her life waiting. David had kept his promise, stayed her friend, never pushed, but she could see it in his eyes. The hope, the patience wearing thin. "How long?" he asked her one day. They were walking through town, just talking, like they always did. "How long what? How long will you wait? 10 years? 20? Your whole life?"
She didn't answer. "Sarah, I'm not trying to be cruel, but you deserve to live, really live,
You forever.
not just exist in this limbo." "I know. Then why? Because love doesn't have an expiration date, David." She stopped walking, turned to face him. "I love him. I will always love him. And if that means I wait my whole life, then that's what I do. I'm not asking you to understand. I'm not asking you to wait with me anymore. If you want to move on, I don't want to move on," he said quietly. "That's the problem. I don't want anyone else. I want you, even knowing I might never have you." They stood there in the middle of Main Street, two people who couldn't have each other for completely different reasons. "I'm sorry," Sarah whispered. "Me too." 1958. 7 years missing. Tommy graduated from 8th grade. He was 14 now, almost a man. He barely remembered their mother, and he'd never even met James. "Tell me about him again," Tommy asked one night. "The man you're waiting for?" Sarah smiled sadly,
So much.
pulled out the photograph, the only one she had. James by the oak tree, young, smiling, alive. His name was James. Is James, she corrected quickly. He worked on a farm this summer of 1950. He was kind and funny, and he loved poetry and books and big ideas. Did he love you? Yes, very much. Then why hasn't he come home? It was such a simple question, such a child's question. But it cut straight to Sarah's heart. I don't know, baby. I don't know. That night, for the first time in 7 years, Sarah allowed herself to think the unthinkable. What if he was dead? What if she'd wasted 7 years waiting for someone who was never coming back? What if everyone was right and she was just crazy? She looked at herself in the mirror, 26 years old. Still pretty, people said, but there were lines around her eyes now. Gray hairs starting to show. Time was moving forward, with or without her.
One more year, she whispered to her reflection.
John.
I'll wait one more year. And if he doesn't come back, if there's no news, I'll try to let go. But even as she said it, she knew it was a lie. Because how do you let go of the only man you've ever loved? How do you bury someone who might still be breathing? How do you move on when your heart is still waiting?
I cannot do this.
She couldn't. She wouldn't.
Please, we can talk about
She didn't know how.
I
And
promise.
so she kept waiting. Day after day, year after year. Hope fading like an old photograph.
You have to listen to me.
But what Sarah didn't
I
know,
can't.
what she couldn't have known, was that in a hospital bed 3,000 miles
Why are you
away,
really doing
a man
this?
with no memory was starting to remember fragments, pieces,
Just have to.
a yellow dress,
over.
a smile,
Wait.
a name he couldn't quite grasp. The darkness was beginning to lift. But it would take 7 more years before the truth came out. 7 more years of waiting. 7 more years of hope and heartbreak. Are you still with me? Have you cried yet? Comment how many years you would wait, and if you believe Sarah's faith will be rewarded, subscribe. Hit that bell, because the next part of this story will destroy you and rebuild you. Share this with someone who needs to believe miracles still happen. 1960. 10 years missing. Sarah was 30 years old, a decade, an entire decade of her life spent waiting for a ghost. David had finally moved on. He'd met someone, a teacher from the next town over. They were engaged, and Sarah was happy for him. Truly, he deserved love. He deserved someone who could love him back completely. I hope he comes home, David told her the day he announced his engagement. I really do.
Neither.
You deserve that happiness, Sarah. She hugged him.
Come on
Thank
in,
you
sweethearts.
for everything, for waiting with me even when it made no sense.
I am out.
Love never makes sense, he smiled sadly. That's what makes it love. The town had stopped talking about her. She was just Sarah Mitchell, the spinster librarian, the woman who waited, the cautionary tale mothers told their daughters about holding on too tight. But something changed that year, something small, something that reignited the dying ember of hope in her chest.
A letter arrived at the library. Not for her, for the town records. A government inquiry about soldiers from the area who'd served in Korea. Routine follow-up for a veterans memorial they were building. Sarah, being the town record keeper, had to compile the list. And when she wrote James Cooper's name, her hand shook. Missing in action. Presumed dead. Presumed. Not confirmed. Never confirmed. She made a decision that night. One last attempt. One final push before she truly gave up. She wrote to every hospital, every veterans facility, every POW recovery organization. She sent James's photograph, his description, his unit information.
Leave me now.
Please, she wrote in each letter. If anyone knows anything about this man, please contact me. His name is James Cooper, and someone is still waiting for him.
Sorry.
She mailed 43 letters in 1 week,
spent money she didn't have on postage, knew it was probably futile, but she had to try. One more time. Weeks passed, then months. Nothing. 1962. 12 years missing. Sarah's father died. Heart attack. Sudden. Devastating.
Our time together is
Tommy was
precious.
17 now. Billy was 21, engaged to a girl from church. They didn't need her anymore. The farm was sold. Sarah moved into a small apartment above the library. For the first time in her life, she was truly alone. She'd wake up in the middle of the night, gasping, dreaming that James was at her door, that he'd finally come home. Then she'd realize where she was, that she was 32 years old,
So this
that
is it
12 years had passed, that maybe it really was time to let go. She stopped wearing the ring around her neck, put it in a drawer, couldn't bear to
then.
look
Nice
at it
day for
anymore.
a trip to the moon, isn't it?
1964. 14 years missing. Sarah met a widower at the library. Frank Morrison, 45 years old, lost his wife to cancer. He was kind, steady, safe. He asked her to dinner. She said yes. They started seeing each other. Nothing serious, just companionship. Two lonely people finding comfort. He never asked her about her past, never pushed, and Sarah never volunteered the information about James. It felt like a betrayal, just thinking his name while sitting across from another man. Frank proposed on a Tuesday. Nothing fancy, just, Sarah, we're both alone. We're too old to play games. Marry me. Let's build something together.
She looked at him, this good, decent man offering her a real future. Can I think about it? She asked. Of course. Take all the time you need. That night, Sarah pulled out the box from under her bed, the 58 letters, the photograph, the ring. She looked at James's face, 20 years old in the picture, forever young, forever frozen in that moment by the oak tree. I can't wait anymore, she whispered to the photograph. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. But I can't do this anymore. It's been 14 years. You're not coming back, and I have to live. She put the ring on her finger, just to see how it felt. It was too big now. She lost weight over the years, gotten thinner, older. She started to take it off. And then, the phone rang. 2 a.m. Who calls at 2 a.m.? Her heart stopped. Nothing good happens at 2 a.m. She picked up. Hello? Is this Sarah Mitchell? A man's voice. Official. Formal. Yes? This is Colonel Matthews from the Department of Defense. I'm calling about your inquiry regarding Private James Cooper.
Please help me.
Sarah's
I don't know
knees
what else to
buckled.
do.
She sat down hard on the floor. We've located someone at a veterans facility in California. He was a POW, suffered severe injuries, including head trauma. He's been in the VA system for years, but he had no identification, no memory. We've been trying to piece together who he is. Is it him? Sarah could barely breathe. Is it James? We believe so. The physical description matches. But ma'am, you need to understand. This man has no memory of his life before. He doesn't remember his name, his family, anything. But he's alive. Yes, ma'am. He's alive. Sarah started crying, sobbing so hard she couldn't speak. 14 years. 14 years of waiting, and he was alive. He was alive. Ma'am, are you still there?
Yes, she choked out. Yes, I'm here. Where is he? When can I see him? The facility is in Los Angeles, but Miss Mitchell, I need to prepare you. He won't know who you are. He may never remember. I don't care. I don't care. I need to see him. Please. I'll arrange everything. Can you travel next week? I can travel tomorrow, tonight, right now. The colonel gave her the details, the address, the contact information, and when she hung up, Sarah sat on her apartment floor, holding the ring, shaking uncontrollably. He was alive. After 14 years, after everyone giving up, after she'd almost given up, he was alive. She called Frank the next morning. "I can't marry you. I'm sorry,
I'm waiting.
but I can't." "It's okay," he said gently. "I understand." Did he? Could anyone understand? 5 days later, Sarah was on a plane to California. Her first time flying, her first time leaving North Carolina in her entire life. She was 33 years old. He would be 35 now. Strangers in their own skin. But she was going to see him, finally, after 5,110 days of waiting. She was going to see his face again. What would she say? What would she do? Would he look at her with empty eyes? Would there be any recognition at all? She didn't know, didn't care. He
Please,
was
you must
alive.
understand.
That
No.
was enough. That had to be enough. The plane landed. She took a cab to the facility, stood outside the building shaking. This was it, the moment she'd dreamed about for 14 years. She walked through the doors, and everything was about to change. If you're crying, drop a heart. If your heart is racing, comment, "I believe." Because what happens next, this reunion, you need to see this. Subscribe now, turn on notifications, share this everywhere. The ending will wreck you, I promise.
The hallway smelled like disinfectant and old coffee. Fluorescent lights buzzed overhead. Sarah's heels clicked against the linoleum floor as a nurse led her down the corridor. "He's in room 247, the nurse said softly. "But I need to warn you. He's been here for 8 years. No visitors, no family. He doesn't speak much. Keeps to himself mostly." Sarah's hand went to her throat, to where the ring used to hang. She'd put it on her finger this morning. After 14 years of hiding it, she wore it openly now. Does he have bad days?" Sarah asked, her voice shaking. "Mostly he just stares out the window. Drawing sometimes. He draws the same thing over and over." "What does he draw?" The nurse stopped at a door. Room 247. A tree. Always the same tree. Sarah's breath caught. The oak tree. Their tree. He was drawing their tree. "He remembers," she whispered. "Somewhere inside, he remembers." The nurse opened the door. "I'll give you privacy. Take all the time you need." And there he was, sitting in a chair by the window, his back to the door, hair longer than he used to wear it, streaked with gray now, shoulders thinner, but the shape of him, the way he held himself, it was him. It was James. "James?" Her voice broke on his name. He didn't turn around. She took a step closer, then another, her whole body shaking. "James, it's me. It's Sarah." Slowly, so slowly, he turned his head, and she saw his face. Older, scarred, a long mark across his left cheek, lines around his eyes that hadn't been there before. But it was him. Those eyes, those storm cloud gray eyes she dreamed about for 5,110 nights. He looked at her. No recognition, no spark, just emptiness. "Sarah?" he repeated slowly, like testing the word in his mouth. I don't... "It's okay," she said, tears streaming down her face. "It's okay. I'm here now.
Home.
I'm finally here." She walked closer, knelt down in front of his chair, looked up into those beautiful, broken eyes. "Do you remember North Carolina? A farm? Do you remember the summer of 1950? He stared at her face, studying it. searching for something.
I just keep thinking about how
I
things have
dream
changed
about
so much, how
yellow,
everything feels different
he
now.
said quietly.
No.
Bright
It's a
yellow,
lot to take in,
like
isn't it?
sunshine, and a smell, sweet, like flowers. Sarah's heart stopped. My dress! I was wearing a yellow dress the day
didn't know
we
what I
met.
was doing, and
And
then
jasmine. There was
everything
jasmine
changed.
blooming everywhere. Something flickered in his eyes. Brief. Gone. I don't remember faces, he whispered. The doctors say the trauma, everything before is just gone. But sometimes I feel things, like memories that aren't quite there. What do you feel? She was crying so hard she could barely see him. Loneliness, like I lost
It's even more
something,
beautiful than I
something
remember.
important,
It's perfect.
something that made me
I trust your word on
whole.
this.
Sarah
have.
took his hand. He flinched at first, then stilled. She placed his palm against her cheek. You lost me, and I lost you. But I found you again, James. I found you. He looked at their hands, at her face, at the tears falling like a rain. Why are you crying? Because I
can't do
waited
this. I just
14
can't.
years for this moment. Because everyone told me to give up. Because I didn't know if you were alive or dead. Because I loved you then, and I love you now, and I will love you even if you never remember me. Loved? Me? He looked confused. But you don't know me.
And just imagine
I do
what that
know
will
you.
lead to.
I know you love poetry. I know you wanted to be a teacher. I know you promised me you'd come back. And you did. It took 14 years, but you did. She pulled the ring from her
worry,
finger, held it up between them. You gave me this, July 15th, 1950. You said, keep this, and when I come back, I'm putting it on your finger properly. Do you remember? Please, James, please try to remember. He stared at the ring, and then something happened. His breathing changed, his eyes widened, his hand started shaking in hers. Yellow dress. You were waiting for a bus. I asked for directions. You smiled. You had the most beautiful smile. Sarah sobbed. Yes, yes, you remember. The kitchen, washing dishes, your father's farm, the fields, He closed his eyes, pressed his fingers to his temples. The oak tree. We sat under an oak tree and you told me you loved me. And I told you I'd wait.
Are you all right?
And I did, James. I waited. He opened his
Should've told
eyes.
you sooner.
And for the first time, they weren't empty anymore. They were filling with tears, with recognition, with 14 years of lost memories flooding back.
Sarah, he breathed. And this time, he said it like he knew her, like he remembered. My Sarah, I tried so hard to get back to you. I tried. I know you did. He pulled her up, wrapped his arms around her, and they held each other for the first time in 14 years. Both crying, both shaking, both broken and healing all at once.
John.
I'm sorry, he sobbed into her hair. I'm so sorry I took so long. You came back. That's all that matters. You came back. They stood there for what felt like hours, making up for 5,110 days of not holding each other. Finally, James pulled back, cupped her face in his hands. Marry me, he said. Right now, today. I've made you wait long enough. Sarah laughed through her tears. Yes, yes, 1,000 times yes. 3 weeks later, they got married at the Veterans Hospital Chapel. No fancy wedding, just a chaplain and 2 witnesses. Sarah wore a simple white dress. James wore his old uniform, the one they'd finally found in storage. And when he slipped that tiny ring onto her finger properly this time, they both cried. I told you I'd come back, she whispered. And I told you I'd wait, she whispered back.
They moved back to North Carolina, bought a small house near the old farm. James became a teacher, just like he'd always dreamed. Sarah kept working at the library. They had 43 years together before James died in 2008 at age 90. And every single day of those 43 years, he told her, "Thank you for waiting. Thank you for believing." Today, Sarah is 92 years old, still living in that small house. And when people ask her if it was worth it, waiting 14 years for a man who might never have come back, she just smiles. Love isn't logical, she says. Love is faith. And faith can move mountains. She still wears the ring, still visits his grave every Sunday, still sits under that old oak tree and remembers the boy who stepped off a bus in 1950 and changed her life forever. 14 years of waiting, 43 years of love, a lifetime of proving that true love doesn't give up. That's Sarah and James' story. If this made you cry, share it. If this made you believe, subscribe. If you have someone you'd wait 14 years for, comment their name. Let them know, because life is short, and love, real love, is worth fighting for. Thank you for waiting with me through this story, through every painful year, through every moment of hope and heartbreak. Sarah waited 5,110 days. But love lasts forever.